Good morning, and in this video we're gonna be talking about the pine needles and Ontario Place negotiation instructions. So, pine needles had a request, like they have their instructions, and Ontario Place have their instructions. So, to answer the first question, how would I resolve the conflict between what the Pine Needles want for the dressing rooms and Ontario Place refusal to make any change? And what do I think the two parties would have ultimately negotiated that met both parties' needs? So, to resolve this, uh, the Pine Needles, they wanted their room to resemble a pine forest, but Ontario Place didn't allow that. Structural changes. To resolve this, I think Ontario Place could use temporary decorations like any forest themed or like anything close to what the Pine Needles were asking for, like any wooden furniture, for example, or like trees, like anything that would kind of like meet in the middle. And this would have satisfied the Pine Needles requests. What I think they would have ultimately negotiated that would meet both of their needs would be pretty much the same thing. They would have ultimately agreed to. I think they would have made more of a revenue deal that would like be like, okay, like we will do this for you if we get extra money, like, or something like this, because Ontario Place also want to make revenue as well, right? So, and I will be actually using this in my next question. So the next question is, if I were negotiating for the Pine Needles, how would I initiate that negotiation on the ticket price, and how the ticket revenue would be split between both of them? What numbers would I start at and why? What number would I expect them to start at, and how would I get Ontario Place to go higher, addressing both the actual ticket price and the share of the ticket revenue? So, if I were negotiating for the Pine Needles, I would propose starting the ticket price at $75, which is the maximum allowed by the place. And I would first start to request a 60 to 40 revenue, favoring the Pine Needles, of course, in favor of it. Ontario Place will most likely counter that by like lowering the ticket price, asking us, or sorry, I mean asking the Pine Needles to go like on a 50-50 split. So if I wanted to like push them higher, to go higher, I would ask I would talk about how the band is very popular and that it's gonna be a sold out event 100%, and I would then set the ticket price for at $70, and I would lower a little bit the ratio, make it like 55 to 45 split, and this way it's gonna reflect that the band still gets what they wanted, and also Ontario Place get their needs as well. And another, so for the third question, it's what is one thing or one out of the box thing that I can add to the negotiations that could help reach a deal? As I said earlier, I feel like a collaboration, some sort, like any merchandise that would a merchant like collaboration between Ontario Place and the Pine Needles, such as like like my idea was that a t-shirt with the setting of the Ontario Place where they performed, and then Ontario Place get 20%. That way it's like kind of like doing an ad for Ontario Place and the Pine Needles as well, while Ontario Place get like 25 or like 20% of the revenue, and Pine Needles get 80% of it. And that way they could like have more like collaboration, and it could like align with both of these parties' interests, while adding revenue for Ontario Place and offering them a unique way to meet their expectations, or like their negotiation expectations. So for the last question, which is the toughest one, identifying what I would think what was the hardest part, what would be like the hardest part of the negotiation, and explaining why. Instead think back, okay, yes, and identifying how I would attempt to resolve that issue. So what I think would be the hardest part is finding a balance between Ontario's Place emphasis on cost effectiveness and the Pine Needle's quest for elegance and wanting like that specific setting for them. So, and that, in my opinion, is the most difficult aspect of the negotiation. And in order to like resolve that, I would suggest a new, innovative, reasonably priced ways to satisfy the band's requirements, such as including the newer decorations while respecting the venue's limitations to that specific decoration that they initially wanted, and highlighting the common objective of putting out an amazing event after all. And to balance these objectives, cooperation and attentive listenings are 100% required. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.